In the last lesson of the chapter, we're going to interpret and make box and whisker plots. So let's start with making box and whisker plots. Remember, a box and whisker plot has 5 values. Between the 3 middle ones, there's a box. We're going to make a box and whisker plot of the price of TVs. These are specifically 27-inch TVs. So we're going to compare the prices. So to make a box and whisker plot, your first step is going to be to put the data from least to greatest. I'm going to make a list over here. Put data from least to greatest. Okay, so it looks like our smallest number is 188. We have 192. 225. Oop, I skipped one. 224. And then 225. 239. 271. 275. 286. 316, and then 334. There should be 10 values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. After your list is from least to greatest, you can find your least and greatest value, you can find the median, and then the median of the first and third, or first and second half. So let's find the lowest and the greatest values are called the lower and upper extreme. If you have to put a side note, smallest and biggest values, that's fine. I just like to circle them to remember to use them later on. Next, I'm going to find the median, or this is also called the second quartile. So to find the median, I'm going to cross off one from the beginning, one from the end. I'm going to notice I'm stuck between 2 numbers. To find the middle of those 2 numbers, I'm going to add them up and divide by 2. After I did that, I got 255. This fourth step is the trickiest step. To find the first and the third quartiles, or the upper and lower quartile, you need to find the median of the upper and lower half. So this is going to be 2 numbers. When you're finding the median of the lower and upper half, you do not include the median that we already found. We are not including the median. Okay, so I'm not going to include this number. My lower half are these numbers here. I'm going to find the median of those numbers. Looks like it's 224. The upper half are these numbers here. These 5 numbers, I'm going to make a box and whisker plot. Don't forget to title your graph. So my title is the price. Maybe I want to include the size. Okay, I'm going to make a number line to represent all these numbers. Now I have a really small space. Let's make it a little bigger. It looks like we range from 188 to 334, so maybe I want to go up by 20s, starting at 180 for my number line. that we circled. So I have 188. This would be 190, so a little bit less. It's going to be helpful to correct if you actually put the number above it. It's going to be easier to correct. 224, this would be 230. This is 225, so a little bit to the left. 255, this is 270, so 255 would be about here. 286, this is 290, so a little bit to the left. And 334, this is 330, so a little bit to the right. When you make your box and whisker plot, you're going to connect the outer dots to the inner dots. The three inner dots are going to have a box around it. And then the median is just going to have a line through it. I would like you to try this process. Make a box and whisker plot of the ages of 8 family members. Follow the steps on the other side. Okay, we're going to go back to this first box and whisker plot and we're going to interpret it. So when you're looking at, I'm not looking at this set of numbers, I'm just looking at the box and whisker plot. Pretend you weren't given those set of numbers up there. You were just given this graph. Looking at this graph, I'm thinking of measures of central tendency. I can figure out the range. To find the range, you're going to take the upper extreme minus the lower extreme. You're going to subtract 334 minus 188. And you're going to get 146. We can also find the median, the middle number. The middle number is represented by this right here. You cannot find the mean, the average, and you cannot find the mode with a box and whisker plot. There is one more thing that we can find. It's called the interquartile range. This is our first quartile, our second quartile, and our third quartile. It's represented by that box. The interquartile range is just the difference of the greatest and the lowest value, the first and the third quartile. So we have 286 minus 224. And we get 62. So let me tell you how we get that number one more time. This is the first, second, and third quartile. The box represents the three quartiles. The interquartile range is the difference between the first and the third quartile, the difference of the ends of the box. Okay, you're going to notice that this box and whisker plot separates our data into 4 groups. And each one of those represent 25% of the data. So this line represents 25%, this line represents 25%, this represents 25%, and this line represents 25%. We don't know what numbers are in those 25%, but we can tell the range of the cost of the TVs. So they might ask you a question like this. How many prices were less than how many prices were less than $224? How many TVs were less than $224? They're not looking for an exact number. There's no way of finding out if they don't give you the list of values. They're looking for a percentage. You would say 25% of the TVs are less than $224. 25% because this graph is broken up into 4 pieces. They could ask how many TVs were more than $255, so more than would be this right here. Again, they're not looking for a specific number, they're just looking for different percentages. 50% are more than $255. Okay. One last thing. Let's see what I have. Let's interpret this graph. This is precipitation in 2 cities in Texas, Dallas and Houston. The main thing I want to point out here is that these Box-and-Whisker plots seem to have an outlier. So an outlier is a number that's very different from the rest of the numbers. It's easy to spot when we have a list of numbers, but here we don't have the list of numbers that they use to make this Box-and-Whisker plot. I can tell that this has an outlier because this whisker has a big range. So 5.2 must have been way different than all the median numbers in the middle. So an outlier is a value that is widely separated from the rest of the data. I would assume that there is just one number 5.2 in here, but I couldn't tell you that for sure. So when you are comparing 2 Box-and-Whisker plots, you can find the median, you can find the range. Go ahead and write that down now. I can see that the middle of Dallas, the middle of precipitation is between 2.3 and 3.2 inches. And the median, the middle for Houston is 3.5, 4.4, so I can tell which ones had more rain and which ones had less. So you should have found, I asked you to find the range, the median, also find the interquartile range. And then answer this question. How many times did it rain more than 2.6 inches in Dallas? How many times did it rain less than 3.5